So it wasn't too long ago that I was lucky enough to drive the all-new EQS, the big Mercedes sedan all-electric vehicle. And during that full week of driving that thing and the review, I mentioned that I would love to drive this new EQE because the E-Class is kind of more my size and style. And I've always liked the E-Class sedans a little bit more than the S-Class sedans. Well, here we are, the all-new, all-electric EQE sedan. Let's get into it. And before we dive in too deep, let's quickly touch on the different EQ line of vehicles that Mercedes has out now. You have an EQS, which we talked about, big sedan. There's also an EQS SUV. Then you have the EQE sedan and the EQE SUV. They also have an EQB, which is only an SUV. And of course, they've got some future plans, which we won't get into here. In this video, we're talking about the EQE sedan, and it has 4 different trim levels. Those include the EQE 350 Plus at the base, the 350 4Matic, and then the 500 4Matic, which is what we're driving here. And then there's also an AMG EQE, which again, we're not really touching on in this video. We're gonna be talking about this, the EQE 500 4Matic. But as always, if you want to see another vehicle on that list or any other EV or other vehicle that you want me to review, leave it down in the comments and we'll try to make it happen. But again, this one's focused on the EQE 500 4Matic. All right, and we're going to start off here talking about the exterior design. This is a very fluid and rounded shape of a vehicle. And obviously that's to help with the coefficient of drag, which is 0.22. Very good number there. This EQE 500 does have the AMG line exterior package, so we do have some bits on the outside to make it look more sporty and probably reduce that coefficient of drag a bit in the name of sporty looks. But we do have the LED Active Highbeam Assist headlamps with nice details in there. We've got that solid gloss black grille with these small Mercedes logos scattered about. There is no frunk in the EQE. Popping the hood just gives you access to maintenance, so much so that if you want to add wiper fluid in here, there's a special port on the driver's side that pops out that lets you add wiper fluid. We do have body colored side mirrors with integrated turn lights. They are power folding side mirrors, and we have the pop out door handles, so they slide in as you're driving or lock the vehicle, and that helps with the drag as well. Or when you approach the vehicle or unlock the vehicle, they pop out for you to be able to open the doors. Our wheels here are 20-inch wheels, and we do have the AMG 5-spoke with matte gray aero elements. So they are still very air efficient focused wheels, but they look a little bit cooler than the normal stock wheels. And they are 20 inches where the stock car comes with a 18-inch wheel. Here on the A-pillar, you can see the EQE moniker. When these door handles pop out, you see the Mercedes-Benz Signia written in them. Looking at the roof, you can see we have the full panoramic sunroof. We can touch on more as we get inside. Charging port is towards the rear. We'll talk more about that in just a second. We have full LED taillights, and it's got the full strip along the back. Really nice. A small little spoiler on the rear, but no extra weird aero bits like some of the other EVs in this class. And then of course, large on the trunk, we have the EQE 500 badge, the 4Matic badge, and that big Mercedes logo, which pops that trunk. We'll look at in a bit. You also have some aero on the bottom on this gloss black rear fascia. And overall, I think it's a really nice design, especially under the constraints of the aero needed to make this as efficient as possible. And we can talk about dimensions here with our total wheelbase of 122.8 inches. We have a length of 196.9 inches, full width of 82.8 inches, and a height of 59.5 inches. And our curb weight here ranges from 5,201 pounds to 5,434 pounds for the 4Matic. All right, and back to the trunk here. Again, you push in on the Mercedes logo. That's going to power pop the trunk for you. Back here on the lid itself, you've got a couple of buttons here to drop the rear seats to add more cargo volume. You got a button to lock everything up and a button to close it back up. But of course, we want to talk about the cargo volume in here. And that's a little bit difficult because Mercedes hasn't actually given the exact number of cubic feet of cargo volume that we have here. It's a good size for the class. You've got a completely flat floor. You've got a little extra cubby on that side. It's definitely a good size. I don't have the exact figures for you, but what I do have a good number for are the electric motors, power, and battery for this thing. So let's talk about that right now. So first off, your charging port is back here in the rear on the passenger side, at least passenger side here in the US market. And it does lock the charger in when the vehicle is locked, which is great. But let's go over some numbers here for you, starting with the EQE 350. You've got a rear axle single motor, 215 kilowatts. We've got a lithium ion battery. Battery capacity is 90.6 kilowatt hours. Your all-electric range is 305 miles for a full charge. Your economy on that is 98 city, 94 highway MPGe. Charging on a 240 volt from 10% to 100 should take 9.5 hours. Charging for a DC fast charger from 10% to 80%, 170 kilowatts, should take 32 minutes. And we went and charged this thing this morning, got unlucky that none of the chargers were pushing hardly any wattage out of it. Waited for almost an hour, barely got 20% charge. I guess that is what it is. That motor is rated at 288 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque, matched up to the single speed transmission. Estimated 0 to 60 is 6.2 seconds, nice and quick. And your estimated top speed is 130 miles an hour. Moving on to this, the EQE 500 4Matic, and this will share a lot with the 350 4Matic, but you do have the dual motors, one on the rear axle, one on the front axle, with a total of 300 kilowatts of output. We have the same 90.6 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery. Total range for that setup drops down to 260 miles. Efficiency is rated at 83 miles per gallon city, 82 highway. MPGe, really stellar, I think. Your charging time for the 240 volt on that is the same, 9.5 hours and 32 minutes for the fast charger. Because you're charging the same battery, we just have a dual motor setup. But with that dual motor setup, in the 350, you're looking at 288 horsepower and 564 pound-feet of torque. But this one, the 500, you're looking at 402 horsepower, 633 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. We'll test that out a little bit later. And top speed still at 130 miles an hour. So big information dump there on the power, on the batteries, on the charging. Let's go ahead and jump inside and start talking about the interior, and then we'll take it for a drive. All right, and we're here in the interior of the EQE. Lots of cool stuff to look at, go over, and we'll start off with these seats. They are really nice, a different color, a brownish color, but you've got this nice perforated pattern stitching, very comfortable seats. You've got a brown suede-like material on the doors with more of a white paneling. And then you have this wood grain here, which is, you can actually feel the grain. It's not smooth. It's really nice. Some shiny chrome finishing, as well as gloss black. This does have 64 color ambient lighting, just like most of the other Mercedes products we've driven lately. Let's go ahead and kick it on. You can see everything kind of moves into place as a driver. And of course, the nice big screen here. This is the new MBUX Multimedia System with navigation, including a natural language assistant, which uses the keyword, "Hey Mercedes."
How may I help you?
turn on the driver's side cooled seat.
Okay, I'm switching on the seat heating on the driver's seat.
And there you go, heated seats. Not what I asked for. But this is a 12.8-inch OLED screen. It is a portrait display, so it's a bit taller than it is wide, but it's almost a square. It's an aspect ratio I do like in a vehicle like this. You can get the wide screens, you can get the really tall screens. This is almost more of a square. Everything's easy to touch, easy to see as a driver. And you do have some physical buttons down here. You've got your dynamic mode switch. You've got a button here for your 360 camera modes. Always really cool. You've got your EQ button, which is going to bring up all your efficiency settings and whatnot. You've got a vehicle button, which is going to bring up your vehicle features, like turning on and off the head-up display, lane keeping assist, steering assist. All of that is controlled right here. We have this car wash mode. Vehicle is prepared for use in a car wash before entering. See owner's manual, maximum speed. Okay, so mirrors folded in, nope, window and roof closed, parking sensors off, rain sensors off. So it just turns off all your sensors and make sure everything's closed before you go in, reduces your available speed. So we'll test it out since we're about to wash this thing. And I know a lot of car people don't like automatic car washes like this, especially if you're driving a Mercedes. But it is what it is, and if you're a Mercedes owner and you want to be in a car wash, you're about to see what the car wash mode does.
Place car in park. Place car in park.
You obviously have your hazard light button down here. You have a fingerprint scanner that will determine your driver profile. So when you buy this, you can set your own profile with your own fingerprint. And of course your power button for the screen, a mute button, and a volume rocker. And this is just done with a slide back and forth, although this big thing can be pushed in on. Moving down, you do have a cubby with USB Type-C charging ports down here. You've got cup holders that can be just removed out of the way as well. Got a deeper cubby back here. This is a wireless charger for your key fob. And moving further back is your console. Not super squishy, but a decent amount of padding there. Open it up and it's a decent amount of room. If you get deep in there, you've got more charging ports. Moving over to the steering wheel, it is a nice size steering wheel, completely round, no flat bottom or anything here. This white leather looks nice. I'd be afraid that it would get super dirty over time and start to not look nice, but it is an option. You've got all your touch functions that you would expect out of Mercedes. You've got your gear shifter on this side. Pull it up for reverse. You get that 360 camera with reverse camera. Push it in for park. Push down for drive. This one handles all your other functions, including your windshield wipers, your turn signals, your bright lights, and then your actual lighting control is down on the other side of the steering wheel. You saw that we do have cooled seats and heated seats, memory seats, and of course, Mercedes, your seat adjustment is here on the door. Behind the steering wheel is a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, fully digital. It's a really nice one. I do like it. You can switch modes here, so you can look at a sport mode, understated. You can go full navigation, have your assistance settings up there. Of course, just back to your classic mode. And you've got a lot more configuration and settings here. All really cool. You also have a really nice head-up display. It's going to be really hard to see in this setting, but you can put a lot of different information up there as well. Flip through different configurations of that, or turn it off altogether, which I would never do because I really like head-up displays. With that, that's a good look around the interior of this thing. Let's go ahead and let's get it out on the road and talk about the drive. All right, let's get going. So one of the first things to notice is the quietness. This is an all-electric vehicle. but it is a Mercedes, so you do have all the insulation and quietness from the wind noise and the road noise that you would expect. Obviously, with the E-Class, it is a really nice vehicle. It's smaller than the EQS that we drove, but still just as nice, and even more on the sporty side. So you do have the 3 dynamic modes. You have Sport, Comfort, and Eco, including an I mode for individual settings. For the most part, I've kept it into Comfort mode this week. I have pushed it into Eco a few times, and it works just fine in Eco. It actually doesn't feel too much different, but when you put it into Sport, that's when it really comes alive and you really get that power. Of course, you're not going to hear much fuss when you put the power down. You just get pushed back in the chair and sent forward. Put it back into Comfort mode. You still get the power if you push all the way down, but it's not quite as immediate. And for the most part, it's just more comfortable, which is probably what you're going for when you buy a Mercedes. The seating position is very comfortable. The steering wheel is really nice and comfortable. You've got all the button layouts that you would expect from a Mercedes. We've got the one nice, big, almost squarish screen right here. Easy to touch, easy to control. We've got our big driver information display that suffers from the same thing that all the Mercedes that I drive suffer from, where the actual curve of the steering wheel is cutting off a decent amount of the screen. I'd have to position the steering wheel in a very uncomfortable position for myself to be able to see that screen better. You've got all the cool techie features like the augmented reality navigation system, where it'll actually show you arrows pointing in a video screen from what the front camera sees as you're being directed by the navigation. It's pretty cool, and anything that can help visualize where you need to go is going to help. I didn't really use it throughout the week, but it's a kind of cool techie feature to show off. You've got the lane keeping assist in here, radar guided cruise control, all the modern tech features that you would expect from a expensive electric vehicle. The actual economy here in the EQE has been really good throughout the week. I basically drove it the whole week, doing a lot more driving than I would have expected, going downtown, doing back and forth with the family for different things. And when I went to go charge it this morning, we still had over 30% charge after driving it for almost an entire week. So the range in here is really good. Of course, charging it, you got to really have one of the level 2 chargers. It's going to get you a good amount of power coming through it. Kind of sucks that the charger we hit this morning wasn't doing a good amount of power, but the more and more electric vehicles that I drive, the more and more you notice how similar they feel driving. They mostly all have the characteristic of the instant torque, especially if you've got a sport mode. They're mostly quiet and good feeling vehicles to drive. The thing that really separates any electric vehicle from another is going to be your quietness and comfort driving, obviously your range, but then your interior quality, the actual tech that you've got in it, things like that. And if you're wanting the best of the best, it's hard to go wrong choosing a Mercedes. I don't know if you can hear that. One of the more negative aspects of this car, I don't know if it's this car in particular or if it's indicative of the EQE, but there is a rattle that happens from like 20 to about 40 miles an hour. It's not all the time, but it's a lot of the times, and it happens either up here somewhere in the roof or kind of over towards the passenger door. Just like a low hum rattle. I would assume it's not indicative of the EQE, but you never know. I think it's at least worth putting it out there. If you haven't heard it from anybody else and you test drive one and you hear it, then you'll know it's an issue. The EQE is also equipped with rear axle steering. This allows the EQE to maneuver as a compact car would. The steering angle at the rear axle is up to 4.5 degrees or 10 degrees, allowing impressive maneuverability. And the turning radius really shows. And I'll talk more about the direct competition with this in just a bit, as well as some other vehicles that I drove that I probably would choose over getting one of these. But first, let's find a place to pull over, talk about the price, and then we can start talking about the competition, and I'll give you some of my final thoughts after that. All right, guys, now that we've taken it on a drive, we've looked at the exterior, the interior, let's quickly talk about the price. Starting with the base, the 350 Plus has a base price of $74,900. So even at base, you're not getting into this thing cheap, and that is the rear-wheel drive only option. The 4Matic has a base price of $77,900, and this one, the 500 4Matic, has a base price of $85,900. Now we do have some options on here. We have the Pinnacle trim. It's a $3,050 option. We have the driver assistance package for $1,250. We have the digital light package for $1,100. We have the winter package at $1,500. We have the AMG line exterior package at $2,200, and a few extras on there, which makes the total MSRP of this thing $99,470. That's quite a bit, but you're in the pinnacle of the EQE outside of the AMG, and it is a lot of car. And of course, you're always paying a premium for an electric vehicle, so there's that. But let me jump out and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, and after a full week of driving the EQE, and having driven the EQS before, I can definitely say that it is a really nice vehicle. The only one thing that kind of concerns me is that rattling, but I do have a feeling that that's probably specific to this vehicle. These press loaners go through hell and get beat up on just as much as like a rental vehicle, unfortunately. But everything else, fit and finish wise, no issues. Didn't have any issues in the EQS either. Of course, that was an extra 20 grand on top of what this is. So if you're looking for a Mercedes badge or a luxury badge, I do like this thing. I also like that BMW i4. There's a video out on that, and there's no doubting that the Porsche, the Lucid Air, and the rest of the competition out there is also really good, even though I haven't directly driven them. I don't watch a whole lot of other reviews, but I have seen reviews on a lot of those and know that they're pretty good. But again, based on what I've driven, that BMW i4 and the Kia EV6 GT, really stellar vehicles. And with all that being said, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the EQE. If there's another vehicle that you're interested in seeing me review, please leave it down in the comments and I'll try to make that happen, especially if it's a competitor to this here or another EV in general. Subscribe to the channel if you're wanting to see all of that, because we can do a different review every week. Also go check out txgarage.com for more written reviews as well as event and news coverage from a lot of great authors over there, not just myself. But with that, guys, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Give me my